Okay, today we got ourselves a chess game, of all things, which I think was a brutal checkmate, but I'm gonna show you how we got there. So I go a pawn to a3, because I've learnt my lesson about pushing my queen pawn, because my opponent usually always does this little thing where they push this pawn, and if I try and get my knight out, they just threaten it. So I do this one, and then he hangs his pawn, so I make a move to capitalize on that. And then he hangs his pawn again, so I take it. 400 elo chess, by the way. Then he does this little maneuver, and I'm like, well, I'm already up a pawn. I might as well just also take the bishop. He thought he was so smart. He's like, aha, but you didn't see this. But then he wastes a lot of tempo because I get to push this pawn for free. And then he goes here. And he's like, oh, you're not taking my horse. And I'm like, well, I'll just push another pawn for free. And then he goes over here. And I'm like, you know what I'll do? I'll push another pawn for three. I get 3 free moves. Then he pushes another pawn because he's like, well, you're not going to take that knight with this bishop over here because I'm covering it. And I'm like, you're right, so let me work on that. So then I spend the next few moves doing this because I don't care about his pawn over here. Now over here, I could have taken his pawn, actually. Now that I revisit this little scenario. But for some reason, I decided to take. And so I lost a knight here. Props to me. But I think, reviewing this position, I could have just taken the other pawn, and I would have been fine. But he would have had an opportunity to, I don't know, escape to this square, or this square, so, maybe it was the right call, who knows. I won the game, so results-oriented thinking. I also, part of the logic was that if I was expecting him to take, but I was like, no matter what he does, he opens up this rook until he moves his rook in defense. So I'm just like, okay, I'll just push my pawn. And he's like, bet, so will I. So I'm like, okay, I'll cover it. He's like, you cover it, I'll take it. Because I'm afraid of this little shenaniganry. And he's like, well, you're afraid of this. What about that? I say, I'll move out of the way. He says, okay, I'll just waste a move. I say, okay, I'll waste one too. He's like, alright, well, if you want to move your rook there, I'll take it. And I'm like, okay, you want to move your rook there, I'll take it. He blocks me, and then I go here. I think I should have gone there first, actually. Because I gave him one free move in return. So he moves his, I could have taken his knight here, actually. Huh. Why didn't I? What did I waste this move on? Huh, okay. I see, I was tunnel visioned on the rook. And, well, I guess his queen is covering that knight. So I go here. He moves out of the way. Here I blunder a little bit. I move here because I'm frightened of his queen going to this square. So he takes my bishop for free, as he should. And then I check him, as I should. Now here's where we're coming up on some grade A 400 elo endgame strategy. Just ignore those moves. But I give him a check here, because I'm just like, well, in this position, I was like, if I move my queen here, I'm threatening this rook, and I'm also threatening checkmate. And he was like, oh yeah? Well, what if neither of those come to fruition. Because if I'd have gone here, he had nothing he could do. So, well, he could have gone over here, I guess. So it's not. I was writing check. But I was like, okay, this is the perfect move. Because I can either take his rook, or I can threaten a really nasty check. And he says, no. I was very happy about that move, but unhappy at the time, but I just went over there instead. It's like, well, you're not covering that anymore. So he moves his king out of the way. Then I move my rook over here, which later this rook will be a main character in this brilliant checkmate. So he moves his pawn, trying to, I don't know, make space for his king. I do this, because I'm like, well, there's nothing stopping me. This move here, you can't take with your bishop because your king's in the way, you know? He's going to be looking at my queen, and he can't be looking at my queen. And then here comes the excellence here. Because my plan is, regardless of what he does, I'll just move my queen to here. You know? He can't cover it by moving his queen here. So my big plan was to go queen to f7. Because there was nothing he could do about it. And he pulls this little maneuver. So I do it. He gives me the space for it. Then, he can't take my queen, so his only little maneuver is this. However, he has this horse covering this bishop, so I get that out of the way. Pretty conventional stuff. And then here's the kicker. Alright. I can take his bishop and checkmate now. He has nowhere to go, no white squares, nothing on this line. He blocked himself in with his rook. So this guy makes one mad dash. Boom. Queen to a8. Now if I take his bishop, I lose a queen. And I also can't take back. So it's a very nasty move here. And if I go rook here, I can't cover it. So, how do I do this nasty checkmate, you ask? Boom! Bishop to b8 was the nastiest thing I could think of at the time. Because, you know, his whole plan of defending his king hitches on keeping this queen looking down this row. Now, granted, he could have moved this out of the way. I think. Like, he could have moved this out of the way, given his king, and I don't know, maybe he could have done something over here. But, yeah, he moves his queen here, covers this row, and he's like, what are you gonna do now? You can't ladders mate me. Bishop to b8. And with that, our main character, the rook, who moved so many years ago, is staring right at this bishop. But this is 400 elo chess, so there was not a surrender. There's a very beautiful mate in one. Thank you all for watching my TED Talk on an excellent mate in chess.